Hello everyone, this is Phaezer signing in here for a look at the Destruction Warlock Guide for 7.0 and onwards to Legion. I'm not going to focus too much on the pre-patch, but I will give some tips, anything that involves pre-patch and differences to Legion. So firstly, let's go over the spells. So a few things have changed. We do have soul shards now instead of embers, so they don't partially fill up anymore. You either get a complete soul shard or you don't get anything on procs. So let's just go over the spells. We have Banish, stays the same, Chaos Bolt. So Chaos Bolt spends 2 soul shards now instead of 1 and deals damage, always crits, same concept. The way that the mastery works now, however, is that the mastery deals random damage. I'll just jump to that quickly first. So it can amplify your damage up to 106%. So you could literally do double damage with, for example, Chaos Bolt. And in spells, it applies to all your spells. So you could, instead of hitting 100k with Chaos Bolt, you'll hit 200k. So there's a massive difference, and it's completely RNG. So you've got no idea. Sometimes you'll just hit repeated low numbers. Sometimes you'll be hitting max numbers. So Chaos Bolt at base, I think it was doing somewhere around 70,000 damage when it crits. So you just got to be lucky with what you're kind of hitting. Command Demon, Conflagrate. So Conflagrate works slightly different now. It generates 1 shard every time it's used. So before it was generating a little bit of the Ember. Now it gives you a complete shard. It also just does 20k damage, so it's a bit of damage, it's nice. It has a 10-second, I think it has a 12-second at base cooldown, but with haste, it's now 9.3 for me. Hellstone, Soulwell, Dark Path's Talent, Demonic Gateway, same thing, Drain Life, you get Drain Life, so very weak. Again, it was weak for Demonology, it's mainly just for Affliction, that spell. I wouldn't really be using it at all. Enslaved Demon, same. I have Kilrog, Fear, Talent, Havoc. Okay, Havoc works slightly different again. It's 20-second cooldown. It now lasts 8 seconds at base unless you talent it. I'll go over talents later. So it lasts 8 seconds and it applies to all of your single target attacks. This is really important, and there's a lot of ways to use Havoc, and why Destruction is completely insane really for 2 target fights. It's all down to Havoc. It's all about Havoc. So we'll go more in depth when we get to the talent on this ability. Health Funnel, that's just the same. Immolate, so Immolate is our main soul shard generator other than Conflagrate. The way that this works is you have a 15% chance to generate a soul shard, and it's doubled, so it's 30% chance when it deals damage if it's a critical strike. Now don't be fooled, critical strike is a good stat, however we want to go for haste. The reason what we want to go for haste is so that we get more procs. We get more ticks of Immolate, and we're able to just do everything faster. It also applies to the imps, the pets damage is haste. So the stat priority is haste, then crit, and then I think versatility, mastery, those two are around the same. Predominantly is going to be haste. It's pretty much the same for all. Warlock specs is haste, and I think a lot of other classes work around haste as well now. So this is very hard hitting now. You always want to be having Immolate. It does quite a lot of damage, especially if you take the talent for it. Again, we'll go over. Incinerate, basic filler spell now. It does not generate any soul shards, so it's just doing base damage, 16k, and it doesn't generate anything anymore. Ignore that AoE, that's talent, we'll go over that in a bit. Life Tap, yep, it returns for Destruction Warlocks, so you will be having to press Life Tap to get mana back. Again, unless you choose a talent, we'll go over later. Rain of Fire actually works a lot differently now, so I'll put Immolate on the targets and get some embers. And you can see Rain of Fire now has a cast time and does damage like that. It does actually quite a lot of damage. it's for sustained AoE. You can see on the meter here, it's done quite a bit. The way that Rain of Fire now works is that it costs 3 soul shards and will do damage over 6 seconds. You only want to be using this on like several targets. It's for sustained AoE damage. It's very good damage for what compared to what it used to be, let's say, where it was hitting like 2k per tick. You've got Ritual of Summoning, same, Soulstone, Summon Demon. Summon Demon, you want to be using Imps. Imp is your main pet for destruction, unless you sacrifice it, but we'll go over that later. So you want to be using Imp if you're using anything, and he does the most damage. Summon Doomguard, this is your equivalent of a cooldown now. We don't have Dark Soul, we do have it as a talent, but we'll go over again later. We have Summon Doomguard, so this is a 3-minute cooldown, lasts for 25 seconds, costs 1 soul shard. Unfortunately, Summon Doomguard does not do anywhere near as much damage as it does in Demonology, and that's because Demonology is Master of Demons, does a lot more demon damage, and you can Demonic Empower it. Destruction doesn't have anything, it's just the Doomguard himself doing damage for 25 seconds. Doesn't do as much as it used to, kind of is, it's just a nice damage boost. It is a little cooldown. Don't think that this is an amazing ability. It just does quite a bit of damage. Effectively, he's a damage over time. He's a dot. You put it on something, it's 25 seconds. He's just doing some damage. Infernals. Again, with the artifact talent, you can get a perk which makes the Infernal do 4 Infernals every 10 minutes. So you'd be using Summon Infernal once in a fight when you get the artifact weapon, and you would never use it again. You would just do. You would only be casting Doomguard. You can only choose one of these at a time to summon. It's 3-minute cooldown. Infernal right now, though, to put it into perspective, you would only be casting Infernal if it's more or less 5-6 targets, and they need to be alive for the full 25 second of that Infernal damage. So yes, he's got a bit of a buff, mainly to make his artifact talent even more more enticing to choose. However, it's still not enough damage. He could be doing with a buff, really, because I mean, if you try and think of a fight where you're going to be getting an Infernal on 5 or 6 targets for a full 25 seconds, is very, very niche. It's kind of more for maybe dungeons if you were grouping everything up and you went destruction for the sustained AoE damage. Remember, this wouldn't be working as a burst. He needs to get that 25 second duration. So primarily just stick with Doomguard. Unending Breath, breathing on water. Unending Resolve. It stays the same. It's 40% damage reduction, lasts for 8 seconds, and also prevents you being interrupted, which is very good for some boss abilities that do AoE interrupts on the raid. You can just continue casting and just tunnel. It also has a 1.5 minute cooldown now, which is really nice. It's better than the Affliction and Demonologies, so it has a lot more short of a cooldown, and is a very big cooldown, really. Especially if you compare it with something like a Sacrificial Pact, you basically become like with the target dummies. You know you're just not going to die unless it's a one-shot ability. So healers don't have to focus you. Make sure you are using this ability, especially in dungeons. You can prevent it so healers don't have to concentrate on you at all. You can essentially just keep yourself up with Soul Leech. So we went over the mastery, chance to deal more damage. It's completely random, so it averages out at just like 50% for me with my mastery. It also reduces the damage you take. I didn't go over that, but it's completely random again, but it's just 23% max for me at the mastery that I'm at the moment. So think of this as just a constant 10% damage reduction roughly for mastery. Soul Leech, I went over this in Demonology. It's just constant shield. You will take the talent for this, which makes it improved. We'll go over, and the codex just green fire quest. Okay, so they are the spells. We're going to go over the talents now. So, Destruction. Backdraft. Don't be fooled by this again. This is kind of what it used to do in before in Walls of Draenor. It's more for PvP, if anything, making your conflagrate Cast time, reduce the cast time of your incinerating chaos bolt by 30% for 5 seconds. It looks really nice. However, this is not anywhere near as good as the other two talents in this row. You will not choose this for any PvE fight. You could choose this for PvP, I imagine. This will be the best one. But to go over the other two, we have Roaring Blaze. Conflagrate increases your remaining immolate damage on the target by 60%. And this is until immolate either falls off or you refresh it. So this is going to be for your single target, 2 target, whether you're able to havoc it, what you're going to be choosing. If there are a lot of adds, I'm thinking fights like Hellfire Assault, we've got Gorefiend, maybe even Iskar, more like Zul'Harak, you've got lots of adds, you're going to be taking Shadowburn. Shadowburn means that it's literally stayed the same, however now you can use it, doesn't matter what the health pool is. So it's really good on the movement, it doesn't do anywhere near as much damage, but it will generate 2 shards if the target dies within 5 seconds, and it costs 1 shard. So on a fight like Gorefiend, you would be havocing Gorefiend, and all the adds that are running around, you just keep spamming Shadowburn on everything. This gives you quite a lot of movement because adds are constantly dying and you're just able to keep generating loads and loads of shards. But obviously the damage has been reduced in what it used to be, but that's where Soulburn does shine. So there are some fights in Legion, boss encounters like Scorpion, lots of Scorpion adds, you're going to be taking Shadowburn. This would be the best talent for that encounter. Otherwise, Roaring Blaze, you don't think it's doing anywhere near as much damage as you'd be choosing Backdraft. However, Immolate is one of our main damage sources now, so it's been significantly buffed in damage. And the way that Roaring Blaze works is that you want to cast an Immolate, and then you want to double hit Conflagrate. And by doing this, if we just show you the normal Immolate damage, if I show you the normal damage, I'm doing 11k, 7k, so this is the mastery doing random numbers, but it's looking like roughly 10k damage it's doing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you when I cast Immolate and do 2 Conflagrates, the damage is now doing 48k, 27k, so we're looking at like 30k damage roughly it's doing here. And if you pair this with a Havoc, so I'd go Havoc, Immolate, and then 2 Conflagrates, you can see 2 targets now. I get a lot of shards. I'm capped on shards at the moment, but look at the damage. That's Immolate doing the damage, and it's very good for the talent choice. So that's what you'd be choosing for single target, cleave, 3 targets probably. But if you are able to feed off adds, Shadowburn is definitely the choice. Level 30 talents, Reverse Entropy seems like it's going to be the dominant choice. It allows your Chaos Bolts and your Rain of Fire to have a 0.5 second cast time reduced, and they also restore 35% of your maximum mana. This means you do not have to press Life Tap. By choosing this talent, you don't have to cast Life Tap. Life Tap won't be taking your health away like it is now, so essentially it's a bit of a survivability increase as well. However, there is a talent in the artifact weapon in Legion which reduces the overall damage you take by, I think it's about 9% when you get it on 3 perks. So when you've capped that out, 9% damage reduction when you cast Life Tap. You would still want to be using Life Tap for that bonus when AoE damage comes in. However, now you do not need to cast Life Tap for mana. So essentially that's quite a good talent. It's mainly the cast time reduced on Chaos Bolt that we're taking it for though. The 35% max mana means that we'll never be casting Life Tap, so that means we don't waste any globals on casting it. So that's where the damage is kind of saved by choosing this talent over the other ones. Cataclysm is back, only for destruction. I'm not sure it's actually for affliction, I don't think it is. So Cataclysm is for AoE burst, and it only has a 45 second cooldown now. It used to have a minute. and the way that it works now is it gives you Immolate on all the targets and doing just massive damage. Remember, Immolate is hard hitting now, so if you can get those Immolates and everything, you can't do AoE Immolate anymore, remember. You can only single cast Immolates or get Havocs and do it. That way this Cataclysm benefits quite significantly in reducing the amount of time you'll be constantly having to switch targets and cast the Immolates out. So Cataclysm, very good. Things like Mana Wrath with the Imps, you can get a Cataclysm, and you definitely be taking Cataclysm for that fight. And AoEing all those Imps, doing a lot of damage, giving you lots of shards back, and very good talent. Otherwise you'd be choosing Reverse Entropy. Mana Tap, no. Just kind of no. I mean, it is possible to use this talent, however, it consumes 25% of your current mana, so the way that you would use this ability is by letting yourself fall to low mana, mana tapping, so that it would only consume a very small amount, since it consumes 25% of the amount of mana you have at that moment, not maximum. So if you only had 10% of your mana left and you use mana tap, it's going to take literally nothing, and then you would follow it up with life tapping to get your mana back. It lasts for 20 seconds, 10% damage increase. So you kind of can just compare this ability with Chaos Bolt having a reduced 0.5 second cast time. 10% damage, 0.5 second, so considering that you save, so every time you'd cast 4 Chaos Bolts you'd get another one. And the addition that you don't have to life tap. It's not that enticing really, especially if you compare it to Cataclysm, because of an AoE. I don't really see where mana tap's going to fall into play. It's not that great of a talent. It is nice, 10% damage increase, but really the other two are going to beat it in almost every other encounter. So, single target cleave, reverse entropy, AoE, Cataclysm. Next row, Demon Skin. Just take this one. It means that your Soul Leech passively gives you a shield. You can see my shield now is on like 100k. That's insane. It gives you every second. So 20 seconds every 20 seconds you'd have a 100k shield. Definite best choice here. Mortal Coil will only heal you if it gets to fear the target. So again, it's just for PvP this talent really. And even still, I'd like Demon Skin. Just gives you so much healing. Shadow Fury AoE stun. Again, if you can use this ability on an encounter, probably going to be better, but again, Demon Skin, just so much survivability, really good talent. Next row, Eradication, Chaos Bolt, increases the damage you deal to the target by 12% for 6 seconds. So if I show this on the target, Eradication, so 12%, lasts 6 seconds, very good talent. This will be the main one you'll be choosing. You want to keep that eradication buff up. The way that it works is that you keep the eradication up for your immolate damage mainly. Chaos Bolt does do nice damage, but you're just using the Chaos Bolt to keep up the eradication debuff. If you can, try and clip it to the end of eradication to keep the buff going. Don't let it fall off, then apply Chaos Bolt. So kind of give yourself time with max shards. If you get a proc with a trinket, you would use those eradication, you would use the Chaos Bolts, keep up that eradication buff, don't let it fall off until the procs on your trinket have fallen off. Only then is it safe to build up again, and you can kind of maintain no uptime on eradication until you've got enough shards to keep going again. Otherwise, if you have no trinket procs, the way that you would use this ability is just to keep firing off Chaos Bolts, staying on 4 shards roughly. Try not to stay at 5 because you could be wasting soul shards. You might be getting procs and you would be wasting them. So stay at 4 shards, or 3 even if you're kind of a bit careful. Just don't be letting yourselves get to 5 unless you're ready for a burst window that you are planning, maybe with the legendary ring. The Chaos Bolt damage is nice. Again, just remember it's there for the immolate damage with Roaring Blaze. That's the kind of best combo that you're going to be getting. Fire and Brimstone means Incinerate hits all targets. So now you don't have to maintain the Fire and Brimstone talent, the Fire and Brimstone ability from Walls of Draenor, that meant that you had to turn it on and it would consume soul shards. It would consume embers back then, sorry. Now it just constantly gives you AoE incinerates. This ability is really for 4 targets. I'd say 4 targets plus. Remember, it needs to be sustained. If there's like imps on Manoroth, you wouldn't be taking this talent because you're only going to get like 1 cast of incinerate on them all. It's not worth it. It's better to stick with eradication. Or you can choose Soul Harvest. So Soul Harvest now is a 2-minute cooldown. It increases your damage of you and your pets by 20%, lasts for 10 seconds, and is increased by 2 seconds for each target hit with Immolate. And it goes to a maximum of 30 seconds. So you can see that this ability combos really well with Cataclysm, because Cataclysm gives every target it hits Immolate. So you do a Cataclysm and then do a Soul Harvest, and you will be able to get 30-second uptime on AoE damage, 20% damage. Arguably, if it's something like Manoroth, maybe it would be better to Soul Harvest first, then do the Cataclysm, just to get that bonus damage off of the Cataclysm. It's arguable which way it would be better to use it. Depends on the fight. Are you going for kind of damage on the imps? Then probably Soul Harvest is using it before Cataclysm would give you higher total damage, but doing damage on Manoroth would give you more if you let it get that 30-second duration by doing it after Cataclysm. However, immediately you can see this is a 20% damage increase. Chaos Bolt is 12% damage increase, and you're going to be getting almost this at like roughly, I'd say 80% uptime. If it was just single target, you're getting like 80% uptime on this ability. It's very good. Soul Harvest is there for the AoE because this applies 20% to all of your damage, whereas Eradication is only giving you 12% damage to the single target. Next, so really, I mean, you're going to be going Eradication for everything. Otherwise, Fire and Brimstone, maybe for dungeons, is more acceptable to use Fire and Brimstone. But the next talent, Dark Pact, is the main one. This gives you a massive shield. Especially if you don't have a demon, it'll give you even more. So we have a 400k shield. I only have like 500 odd k health, so it's almost double my health pool. It's a very good ability. 1 minute cooldown, and you always want to use this when you're at maximum health. If you're using this reactively, where you've been hit by an ability and then you're using Dark Pact, it's not going to give you a very big shield. If you are taking sacrifice. If you don't take sacrifice, it will sacrifice your imp's health to give you a shield. The shield won't be as big because your imp only has, I think it's like 200k. Let's have a look. He has 150k health. So as you can see, the Sacrificial Pact is not going to give anywhere near as much shield. However, it won't begin to sacrifice my health there. But let's just see how much it'll give. So it's off on 5 seconds. Alright, so it only gave me 120k. So it's 3 times smaller, really. Even more than 3 times smaller. So that's why you kind of want to have it with without Dark Pact, and then you can use it to give you a massive shield, ready for a big ability. Burning, you could use it on something like Infernals on Archimon. So before the Infernals land, use Dark Pact. There's no damage coming from anything else, and you have a massive shield ready for those Infernals landing, and you're going to be taking no damage. Burning Rush is there for the movement. It's for constant movement. I like this talent quite a lot, because remember, we do have Unending Resolve for our damage reduction, so we don't just rely on Dark Pact. Otherwise, it's Demonic Circle for the teleport. This is more better if you are going backwards and forwards, and you know you are, and you can keep teleporting to the same location, because otherwise you'd be having to recast this ability, and it's a waste of DPS. So that's why it's better just to go Burning Rush. It does cost health, so yeah, it is a bit punishing. You don't want to be keeping this up for longer than you have to, but it is a very good talent for moving to places fast. For the next row, we're back to DPS again. The way that this works is Supremacy is not a very good talent. This is really just for leveling and world content. You're just going out doing dailies maybe. Grimoire Supremacy is probably best for single target because it summons the Doomguard. You'll be summoning Doomguard, sorry. You won't be using this from the Infernal. Infernal is there to be a tanky pet if that's what you need, but most likely you'll be relying on Doomguard and he just does more damage. However, it's not a very good talent. It is alright. Remember, demons don't do that much damage in destruction. Demons only do a lot of damage in demonology. Grimoire Service is most likely the best talent for single target. You will use it to summon an imp. He does an 100% increased damage. Combo it with the ring for this pre-patch at the moment. So save it for the ring, 1 minute and a half cooldown. So you'll be holding it for 30 seconds and then use it with the ring. Does nice damage. Again, demons don't do as much damage as demonology, so don't be thinking that this is amazing. However, it is alright for destruction. Single target. Grimoire Sacrifice is for cleave and AoE. It does a lot of damage. You saw it when I was using it on the dummy here. When I just get going, look at all the procs of damage that keep going out. You see it bursting, doing lots of damage. You can see it popping. It's consistently procs. You can see it's done 200k damage, 230k. So for AoE, Sacrifice is going to be amazing service for single target. Even for just 2 target, 3 target, Grimoire Sacrifice is going to be best. Now for the 100 talents row, it's quite interesting. We have Wreak Havoc, which means that Havoc now lasts for 20 seconds and has no cooldown. This means that I can keep casting Havoc and have it 100% uptime. Remember, it will cost a global cooldown, but you can only have it on one target. There's a PvP talent which makes it do it on everyone hit in an area, but we're just going to focus on PvE. So this is a good ability for casting it, say, on a boss. So imagine this is the boss, the main one, and there's some ads here, and I'd be finishing off these ads, doing damage to them, and then when it goes low health, I'd be doing shadow burns on them and finishing them off, and all the shadow burn damage will be replicating onto the Havoc target. This gives you an extra 12-second uptime on Havoc, essentially. You will be choosing this talent if it's for 2 targets, definitely. If there's 2 targets, Wreak Havoc, amazing. However, if you don't choose this talent, remember that Havoc lasts 8 seconds, so it gives you a short burst window to be able to deal cleave damage. If it's a fight, I mean, it's kind of difficult to not choose this talent if there's more than one target. If there's more than one, go this talent. However, if you don't choose it, you just have to really manage Havoc by putting it on a target that's going to live. You have to make sure it's going to live, and you make sure that you are getting shadow burns on all the other targets, finishing them off, doing a lot of damage on them, so that you get that Havoc damage replicated. You have that 8-second window, most likely if it was just 2 targets and you didn't choose this talent. You have 8 seconds, you want to get max shards ready, you want to do immolates on both of them beforehand, so I'll just choose Soul Conduit. So I'd have immolates ready on both targets, then I'd do Havoc, 2 Conflagrates to get that ramp up damage, and then to get some Chaos Bolt in. You can get 2 Chaos Bolts in before Havoc comes expired. You might be able to get 3 with haste procs, like Hero or something. But that's the best way to utilize Havoc if you don't have the talent. If you do have it, you can just constantly do sustained 2 target damage, and that is where Destruction will shine. That's the only way that Destruction is going to really shine. So if Destruction on 2 target is not top DPS, then I have no idea where Destruction will fit in, because it provides nice sustained single target damage. However, its burst windows of single target damage is not that high as some other specs. So it's either single target sustained damage for Destruction, 2 targets sustained should be dominating. If it isn't, then it's going to be a shit spec. And sustained AoE is where it shines as well. If it's burst AoE, Destruction does not shine. That's more a demonology thing, or other classes are going to shine at burst AoE. Destruction is just there for the constant AoE, which will be good for dungeons, but for raid encounters, sustained AoE is not a thing. Very few encounters where that happens, so it's very niche to be able to do that. To look at the other two talents, Channel Demon Fire. So this talent is shit. Yeah, I know some of you might be thinking, but it's amazing. No, it isn't. It is only for single target damage. Don't be fooled by how it says, how it reads, and how it looks. So if I go immolate on all these targets, I get Demon Fire, and you can see all the sparks flying everywhere. Whoa, whoa. No, it does the same damage, single target, as it does AoE. It is only a single target talent. I'm going to show you now. So it did 150k damage. Do bear in mind mastery affects this damage, so it might be slightly different. But now I'm going to do it on one target and see what the damage looks like. 130k. So yeah, mastery affected it slightly. It only did 10k more damage before, so that was just mastery messing around. It's completely random and RNG. But as you can see, it did the same damage single target as it did 3 targets. It only fires 15 bolts over 2.3 seconds. If you do choose this talent, you're going to be having Eradication, get an Eradication, and then fire the Demon Fire so that it gets that 12% damage increase. But again, this talent is not very good. The other two are far superior. Soul Conduit for single target, Wreak Havoc for cleave and AoE. However, saying that, Demon Fire is able to do quite a lot of damage in the pre-patch for single target, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is to a trinket called Prophecy of Fear. Yeah, some of you might not have been expecting that. Prophecy of Fear works that when you get the Mark of Doom, think of it like arcane missiles for the mage, where you get the Mark of Doom on the target and then you Demon Fire them to get those rapid 15 bolts within that 10 seconds. It only does it in 2.3, so it really does quite a lot of damage. But again, that's just for the pre-patch Prophecy of Fear, so I won't really be going over that. I'm not too bothered about that. Otherwise, that talent is pretty shit. It's just there for kind of a niche ability. It's quite pretty, but the other two are far superior. It kind of needs a buff in Legion to be able to do more damage. Soul Conduit is the same as the other specs. Every soul shard you spend has a 20% chance to be refunded. So this even works with Rain of Fire, the way that when you cast 3 shards on Rain of Fire, and you could have a chance to get all 3 shards back. There is a chance to get all 3 back, and you could just do another Rain of Fire. That is why Soul Conduit is better, is going to be better than Demon Fire anyway, so it's regardless. However, for Wreak Havoc is probably just going to be better for AoE. You can use Soul Conduit for AoE, it is acceptable, but Havoc will be better. But Soul Conduit shines on the single target, because obviously Havoc isn't going to benefit if there's only one target. If there's only one boss and there's no ads, then that talent's going to be worthless. It won't benefit by anything. However, Soul Conduit will. You'll be casting Chaos Bolts, and you could be getting those shards back. Keeping up Eradication, you could get that even higher percentage uptime than before if you don't have it, because you could cast, you could be at 5 shards, cast 2 Chaos Bolts back to back, and then you could still have like 4 shards left. So it's very good talent. It allows you to get better uptime on Eradication and just more damage. So I like this one. Havoc is for cleave though, remember. Cleave and AoE Havoc, single target Soul Conduit. That's where you're going to find the best results. So I'll just go over some rotations. So remember, if I chose these talents, I would be taking, if it's 3 targets, so I've got my pet out, I'm going to sacrifice it for Grimoire of Sacrifice during the cleave. And the way that I'm going to work this is I would be taking Havoc, because obviously there's 3 targets here. Even if there was 2, I'd be taking Havoc. I have Eradication up. You could take Fire and Brimstone, 3 target, it's alright. Probably better taking Eradication though, because you're going to be getting those 12% damage increase on 2 of the targets, and the way that Havoc's going to be working is going to be constant uptime on both. Reverse Entropy, decreasing that cast down Chaos Bolt, requiring me not to use Life Tap. And Roaring Blaze is there so that the 2 targets, the one with Havoc and the one I'm targeting, are going to constantly have this increased Immolate damage. On the 3rd one, I'm just going to be casting a straight Immolate on it and just keeping that up. So I would begin by pre-part. I would go pre-part, well, I'll do a DBM countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2.
It's probably the only pull. Alright, so I get Immolate on 2 targets, 3 targets, and I've just got that Havoc on the boss on the other one. I've got the double Immolate going. I'm on 5 shards. I'm going to be getting lots of shards really back from this because of the way that Immolate is giving me them. And as you can see, Havoc's about to run out, so I'm going to reapply it. I get the damage from the Eradication up. I'm going to reapply the Immolates, keep going, and get the Conflagrate double tap, which keeps up that damage buff. So it increases Immolate's damage by a lot. Eradication keeps going, I get the Havoc up, and you can kind of see where this goes. It's just constant, as you can see from the damage, you've got Immolate doing almost the same as Chaos Bolt. Chaos Bolt does not do as much damage as it used to in Walls of Draenor. You just want to be keeping up the Eradication buff to get Immolate damage. That's what it's there for, and Havoc is there to allow you to do increased damage to 2 targets. That's your main focus. If you are not taking Wreak Havoc and there's 2 targets, you still want to be getting those Havocs out and doing insane damage for 2 targets, because that's what destruction is about. So I hope that this guide helped. If you did enjoy it and you liked it, give it a like, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be making more Warlock videos, and I'll see you around, everyone. Bye bye.